Welcome folks. Today I was going to be talking a little bit about screwdrivers. Alright, perhaps it'll help the beginners out the most, as any of you who's used tools for a long time, you probably already know what most of these are. What you see in front of you is three examples. One is a plain tip screwdriver. This one here is a smaller Robertson. It's square on the end, and this other one is something relatively new compared to the other ones. They came up with this name Torx, and what it is a six-sided thing. It came out probably in the mid to later 70s. I've noticed them on vehicles to secure lights to the outside of vehicles, reflectors and what have you. But I'll get into that in a little more detail as we roll along here. Okay, let's get these out of the way. Semi-organized. Okay, we can start with the flat tip one, plain, slotted, what have you. This is a shorter one, and then you have your more beefy ones. They come in all kinds of sizes, small, medium, and large. And I say there's different configurations. There's ones that are really thin to get into tight spots where you normally can't get in with a larger one, and also it applies for a smaller screw as well. Excuse me. So let's get on with a bit of the details on this particular one. Like I say, it's for a slotted screw. Could be a machine screw like this one that could go into a threaded hole, or else a nut to join some pieces together, be it wood or metal. All it basically does is fit into that slot, like so, and then you apply torque or torsional force, which is a circular motion. And what you're really looking for here is to match the screwdriver's size and blade tip to the actual screw head. You don't want it loose like that, but depending on what you have in your workshop, that'll dictate as to which ones you're going to use. But this is just out of a package of dollar store screws. I always keep a few of these on hand. They come in assorted packages and whatnot, but just make sure you try to find a screwdriver that fits the actual head. This one's a bit wiggly. It'll actually do, but it's not the best. It's not the best thing to be using. Like I say, this one's called a stubby. I call it a stubby anyway because it's short and stubby, and it gets into places, and because of the large diameter handle you get a lot more force on it. But when applying force to any screw or bolt, always keep in mind you know, the smaller and finer the thread, the less force that you use with it, you'll just snap it off. Naturally, larger screws or bolts, you can apply more force with that. Just use common sense. There's actually different books or websites that'll tell you what kind of force a certain size screw or bolt will take, especially when you're doing the heavier stuff. But if you got a real tiny screw, you get down into watches and things, then you really got to be light on the force, or you just start breaking things off. Okay, that's your plain tip one. Then we can move on to what they call a Phillips. It's just basically a slotted across, if you will, and probably easier to show you with the screw that it goes into. It looks much like this. It's a cross shaped. Again, it's called a Phillips. They come in different sizes. I have two examples here. This is a Phillips number 2. The shaft diameter on this here is about 1/4 inch or a bit better. This one here appears to be a Phillips number 1. Oh, got to go back here to center this thing. There's a Phillips number 1, Phillips number 2. Some of the different classes of screwdrivers will give you a size on it, but they do come a lot smaller and a lot larger. Same thing goes with the fitment. This one's a little bit wiggly. It's probably looks like a dollar store screw from a package that I bought a while back just for some around the house kind of stuff. But try to get a good fit in there. The best fit, if it's tight, all the better. You start getting loose, it'll jump out. Also, when you're doing any driving any screws or anything of that nature, you want to apply force in the direction of my index finger. You don't just put the screwdriver on there and turn. You have to push in with a certain amount of force, otherwise it will jump out on you. So there you have it for that, for the Phillips. Then we can move on to another common one that you'll see around your house, especially in woodworking. They're called Robertson. and what they are. This is a very common size. These come in sizes too. You've got your Robertson number 1 and your Robertson number 2. The number 2 is just a slightly bigger head. It'll drive the fitting inside the screw head. It's a little larger. This one's a little smaller. This is the smaller one is the number 1. It's a square shape on the end. And this one's slightly larger, being the number 2. Thing I like about these is if you get one that fits the screw head decently, like this one here, I can actually turn it upside down and wiggle it all over the place, and it won't jump out unless I bang it on something. So these are for woodworking. Like you see here, this is what they call a countersunk screw. It's actually got a bit of a taper in there, so when you drive this down, you can get it down flush or even below flush. Say if you got some wood joinery that you're doing, you just basically drill the hole, the smaller diameter of the thread, so the thread will bite in what wood that's left, and then you have a bit of a taper. You can get what they call a countersink, and then the start of the hole you can use the countersink to make that bevel, taper, what have you, and get it flush underneath the wood. But like I say, this is one of my most favorite ones, and applies mostly to woodworking. And it's a really good fit in there. So like I say, I can let that go. Whereas the other ones, you got the plain tip ones, they tend to want to jump out, and you got to center the screwdriver because it'll slide out of the slot or off the head. The Phillips is good because it centers, but it does not hold the screw unless it's magnetized or something along to that nature. Like I say, there's the Robertson. That's the trade name it goes under. Well, not the trade name, but the actual name. It's been around for years, that name. Okay, that's that. And then move along to that one I was mentioning earlier. It's called Torx. TRX. Something that came up, I believe it was in the mid or later 70s. I started seeing them on vehicles to secure headlight bezels and marker lights on the outside of the vehicle. They come in different sizes. These are 2 different brands, mind you. There you can see the name Torx. And this is a T15, being a slightly smaller one. The larger the number, the bigger the size it goes up in on the tip. I can show you the tip. Hard for me to hold still, but you can see there it's a 6-sided affair. And these are really good as far as the strength of the fitting. You might even find these on some General Motors valve covers on V6 engines. I've seen them. A much larger size than this. We're getting up to about 1/4 inch or 5/16 across the largest part of the wrench or screwdriver that you'd use for something like that. But these are common ones that you'll see, like this T15. Really, I see a lot in the domestic vehicles of the earlier era. I have an actual screw out of a Chevy van here, and I believe it's the T15. I'm trying to center this video. It's hard to get everything all organized here. There's the Torx T15, and you can see the tip there. It's 6-sided inside, kind of like a spline, if you will. And you've got 6 points driving in there. So they use these on a lot of vehicles. This one's a little bit wobbly fitting, but it gets the job done. This is to secure a reflective marker light on a Chevy van. This particular screw, I borrowed it out of my van there, one that I have. And that's what they came up with. Prior to this, and up to the earlier mid-70s, they just used the Phillips head screw. And then they went to this for some strange reason. Whatever that was, I'll leave that up to the imagination. They come in all different sizes. Like I say, I'll start with these offset ones. These ones I bought a number of years ago. They come in handy if you can't get straight into something. You might have something in the way of a frame member, or if you're working on a house and you have an existing switch box or anything like that where you can't get into the side of it with a screwdriver. You can get into it with one of these. This was bought as a set, like I say, some years ago. They're offset screwdrivers. I'll use the largest one. On one end it's just got the plain tip, the slotted style screw, for the slotted style screw that is. And on the opposite end it's a Phillips. There's the larger one. I'll just hold them up here so you can get a comparison for the sizes there. There you have it. center this thing up. But you can see there's 3 distinct different sizes, and like I say, what you try to do with the tip of any of these screwdrivers is match them as close as you can to the actual screw that you're trying to turn. Loose one is no good, and if you put one that's too big into a smaller head, it'll just jump out. It'll have no grab whatsoever. So there's those parts. Then, like I say, about the smaller ones, I'll finally bring them out. Come as a set. You can actually get these at a dollar store. Pay a couple of bucks for them. I bought these a number of years ago. They are kind of neat. They're otherwise known as jeweler screwdrivers too when you get into the smaller sizes. These are just for smaller screws. There's the plain tip one. And what sets these off from the other ones is they got a spinning head on it, so you can apply pressure with your finger and you can actually turn it with the rest of your fingers and your thumb. So as you're driving into the screw like so, you can apply pressure with your index finger. Like I said earlier in the video, you have to apply a certain amount of pressure, especially when you have something like a plain tip or a Phillips. It'll want to jump out on you. Okay, so they come in basically Phillips and flat tip as far as this set's concerned. I imagine there might be others out there. They might even gone into the Torx thing by now. That's that set. It was just a couple of dollars at a dollar store kind of thing years ago. And there's another thing for, especially around the house, there's this one. It's got a lot of bits that you can interchange in the end here. There's a ferrule, or threaded sleeve if you will. You just basically pop a different bit in there and then you can change it. So let's make some noise. Alright, here we go. There's all the bits that came with this particular one. I haven't used it too much. It comes in handy for the homeowner, or just if you're working on a car every now and again. It's not a very professional thing, but it gets the job done. See, there's the hollow handle with a cap that spins out of the way, so you can take the bits out of there and take the one out you want and store the rest of them in there when you're done. This is the plain tip one that's in there now. And like I say, I didn't do this tight, but you do this up relatively tight once you insert the bit, so you just loosen that off and that slides out like so. And $5 or $10 hardware store. Look around at any of the Walmart type places, doesn't matter. Look around, the better quality you get, the longer it'll last, but if you're only using it for the odd little job, just about anything will do. They come in, this one is actually not a bad one. It has a, it comes with some Torx bits, this excited thing I was telling you about. It's got some Robertsons in there, and let's see, where can I find that? Okay, I've got one of the smaller Torx bits here. I think there was a larger one as well, if I can see it. Oh, there it is. This one in the handle deal, it comes with two Torx drivers in there, bits if you will. And then you've got a couple of Robertsons here. There's a couple of Robertsons, the square ones. And there's some Phillips. Those are the cross-shaped ones I was telling you about. And on this particular style, I'll show you the, I believe there's actually come with 3 Robertsons. They're the square ones there. And the driving mechanism on these things, I'll try to get a shiny one so it'll show up in the video a bit better, but it's in a heavy press they just upset 2 of the edges on there, and that's what creates the driving force in the handle itself. I can actually take this off for any of you that are interested. It's just a threaded, it looks like a pipe, but it was machined that way so it'll take this, and this just actually goes into these slots here. So if I can get it in there, and that's what creates the driving force. So there you go. You just insert that in all the way, and then you give this a good snugging up, and then you're good to go. Choose the bit that best fits your job application, and there you have it. When you're done, you can put everything back into the hollow handle, and it takes up a lot less space. Whether it's in your a drawer in your workshop, doesn't really matter where you keep it as long as it's safe. And while I'm on it, I'll just go back 1 second here for the Phillips. This one that you saw as soon as you started this video is a very small one I bought for some small woodworking craft kind of things. I need a really small screw to fit some of the small projects in wood I was doing. So there's the difference in size. It's a really tiny one on the left of your video screen, the one with the yellow handle. It's really tiny, so it's actually smaller than a Robertson number 1. So there's basically what you have for screwdrivers. That's just a few that I have kicking around here, and thought I'd share that with you, especially if you're starting out doing anything. You could be a younger person and you're just starting out, just like I did when I was a younger person, and you kind of learn as you go. So with that all said and done, I hope you enjoyed what I had to show you today. So you take care and have yourself a nice day. Bye for now.